Hello everyone, welcome back to Take the L. Tonight we are once again joined by the amazingly awesome Leah. Leah, would you like to introduce today's topic to the audience?
Of course, I'm glad to be back. Tonight's topic will be revolving around the death of Philip II. More specifically, to what extent was his son Alexander the Great a conspirator in his murder?
We have a lot to discuss, so let's jump right in. First, let's contextualize the scene. As depicted by Diodorus in his book Bibliotheca Historica, it all happened at Cleopatra's wedding celebrations, daughter of King Philip and Queen Olympia. She was getting married to her uncle, Olympia's brother. Everything was seemingly going well until Philip slightly separated from his bodyguards to show that the great king didn't need protection. But little did he know, that was the exact moment the king needed protection the most, because those were his last moments of his life. One of the guards, Pausanias, took advantage of that moment and stabbed him with a dagger. After the deed was done, he quickly ran off. However, since the king was now dead, his eldest son Alexander became king and ordered his dead father's bodyguards to kill the perpetrator. Pausanias was killed the same day before any more information could be found out. But why would one of Philip's most trusted companions commit such betrayal?
In order to understand Pausanias of Arrestus' motive, we have to go into the past. We're going to be taking a look at Bibliotheca Historica once again, in which Diodorus wrote on the events leading up to the murder and how it could be Pausanias' motive. In it, he wrote that months before the murder of Philip, Pausanias was favored by him because of his good looks. But that came to an end when a second Pausanias had entered the picture. Out of spite, he insulted the second Pausanias. Diodorus states that he had called him an effeminate who was willing to submit to the erotic advances of anyone who desired to initiate them. Afterwards, the second Pausanias told Attalus, one of Philip's most trusted courtiers of the event. Pausanias ended up dying in war when protecting Philip, and Attalus decided to take revenge into his own hands. He invited Pausanias of Arrestus for wine, and once Pausanias was heavily intoxicated, he left him to common men who ended up sexually assaulting him. The event took away his manly honor. After telling Philip, he was only given a better job because Philip was married to Attalus' niece.
So, who are our suspects?
Well, naturally, we have Pausanias, but according to Ebadian, there is also much suspicion cast on Philip's family, more specifically his wife Olympia and his son Alexander.
Looking at all the evidence Ebadian presented in the death of Philip, it makes the most sense that Alexander was involved, since he had the most to gain from Philip's death. Alexander is the king's eldest son, so his father's death meant that he was next in line to become king. Even though this is a very tragic event, I wouldn't be surprised if Alexander would stoop so low to become ruler of Macedon. I mean, becoming king is still a wish of many. Even though Alexander is currently our main suspect, let's take a look at the other suspects, because it's unlikely that he would have done it without his mother Olympia finding out.
I was thinking the exact same thing, and that goes both ways. The murder couldn't have been arranged and executed so perfectly with only Olympia plotting it. However, what would she gain? It is widely known that Olympia and Philip were in a polygamous relationship, which has led many to believe that she might have been involved because of jealousy or being sexually repressed. However, they were married for 21 years without any sign of problems. It was just the way marriage was back then. The problem arises when the other wives bear sons. Alexander was at the perfect age to become king, but Philip was still in his prime, which meant that one of his stepbrothers would end up taking the throne. Alexander becoming king would not only benefit Alexander, but her as well, which we learn from Elizabeth Carney. In The Politics of Polygamy, she states, "Moreover, a royal woman generally has more power during the reign of her son than during that of her husband. She had to ensure that her son was to be king, and how exactly would she do that? Murder."
Even if she had this perfect plan with a lot of benefits, she probably wouldn't have been able to do it by herself. According to Ada Maria Kukowski in The Death of Philip II of Macedon, she was indeed very capable, given that she regularly poisoned Alexander's stepbrother Aridius, which made him disabled, just so that Alexander had an advantage in taking the throne. This ties in with what you previously said, that she wanted Alexander to become king. She was dead set on achieving just that, but because she was still the queen, she wouldn't want to have such a vicious crime on her hands, like murdering her husband, or the king. Olympia would need an assassin to do it for her. And what better person to frame it on than somebody who already has something against the king? Pausanias was the perfect scapegoat to take the blame.
And this is where, according to Elizabeth Carney, Alexander would have to be involved. He's the eldest son, so the moment Philip is out of the picture, he is the king. In order for this scheme to play out flawlessly, Pausanias must not be caught. All Alexander would have to do is order for Pausanias to be put to death immediately so that he cannot reveal the truth. Besides that, there is no other aspect of the murder in which he would have to be involved in.
So, if we're not sure Pausanias worked alone, and the queen would know if Alexander was plotting something, it would make the most sense if all of them worked together, right? But unfortunately, we would never know for certain because they have all passed, and the answer will forever remain in the past.
We can only make speculations from what we've previously known. The only concrete fact is that Pausanias killed Philip II. No matter how much evidence we find that might point to it, whether Olympia and Alexander were accessories to the crime will forever remain a mystery.
So there you go, folks. We tried answering the difficult question of King Philip II's murder. But let us know what your opinion is in the comments down below. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, take the L!